I dyed my hair.
Yeah.
I dyed
Tell me about it.
I dyed just the ends of it. And it was kind of just one of those things that I was just didn't really plan out, but bought the dye online. Didn't want to bleach my hair, so I didn't bleach my hair. I didn't lighten my hair at all. I just threw the dye on top of my very dark hair. And you can't tell on camera, it's too dark, but in person, it is this beautiful purple, red, brown color
Hmm.
that I just love. And I'm like, I should have done this on my entire head.
So, why did you decide to dye it?
I'd been wanting to for a while because I wanted to change and I didn't want to cut my hair. But I also knew that I needed to be able to cut my hair because it's time for a cut. There's split ends and dead ends that I need to cut off. And I only wanted to do the ends because as an actor, if I have a headshot without dyed ends, then I shouldn't be submitting for things because it's a whole thing.
Hmm.
So I was like, you know what? My hair is long enough that if I dye the ends and one, I don't like it, or two, I get cast in something, I can cut that off. No one would know because my hair is so long anyway.
Okay.
And so I felt like it and I did it. And it turned out beautifully.
Okay. Well, hopefully, when this video renders, you're not jumping around like a clay animation.
No guarantee.
Because right now, that's very much what you look like. So,
No, it's glitching on my side too. Because I'm sitting here swinging back and forth and I can see it's glitching.
all right. On that note, roll intro. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Deanna. And we're the Halfwit Sisters.
Do not disturb. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is in a very sad state at the moment. Very sad state at the moment. There's some news that's hit the headlines that we thought about talking about, and then we were like, we'd rather just really be one little bright spot in the otherwise very sad things that have gone out. So our heart does go out to what's happening out there. But instead, we're going to talk about the Snyder Cut. Justice League. Because while we would talk normally about what's going on in the news, it's just some of it is like repetitive. We've talked about it dozens of times. This is also the anniversary month of being in the pandemic, officially a year. Here in the United States, it's been our year of being in lockdown. Restrictions are being eased up. Spring break has happened, and of course, tons of people are partying it up, and we're just like, why? Dummies. Um, I just saw like, it's just, woo, that was funny for a second. So we're just gonna go ahead and just continue on with a bonus of review content of things that we've been watching, and we'll let the experts and other people who have way more knowledge about what's going on in the world talk about that, and instead we'll continue on with reviewing some things that we've watched. And eventually DJ's camera will start working here soon.
Give me a sec. It was working, and I thought it was working, and then apparently not.
So we're gonna do this episode. We're gonna focus on some hero content. We're gonna talk about the Snyder Cut Justice League that came out last week. Then we're also going to talk about two Marvel things. We both watched WandaVision, but we forgot about talking about it and reviewing that stuff. So it's going to be late, but here we're going to give our take on the WandaVision, and then we're also going to talk about the first episode of the new Marvel show. What was it? Winter Soldier, Falcon
and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That first episode came out last week. So by the time this comes out, the next episode will be out. So we're going to talk about that too, and how we liked it, because it definitely opened up differently than I thought it would open up. Like, it wasn't. Yeah, definitely opened up differently. So we'll get into that and anything else. Excuse me. You have to forgive me. I have a little bit of a cough. It's not COVID. We've checked. So we're and we'll go from there. Also, I kept talking about this, and we still have yet to talk about it. So if we have some time, but I'm definitely going to talk about this. I gotta figure out what the show is called. Something Sweepers. Again, I keep forgetting what it's called, but I'm going to talk about this movie finally in this one, and then we'll go and that'll be it. All right. So let's kick it off. So I'll give it a few more moments for DJ to get her camera working here. I also figure out what it was.
I do not know what is going on.
DJ, just switch to your phone like you did before.
It'd be great if I had that app.
Space Sweepers, that's what it's called. We're finally going to talk about it. I'm finally going to talk about it, because I keep talking about the freaking thing, and yet nobody else. Mumbles.
Mumbles and frustration.
So what do you want to hit first, Deej?
Why don't you go ahead and start talking about Sweeper?
Yeah, so while she's trying to get herself together there, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Space Sweepers. This one came out on Netflix this year. Was it this year? I think it came out this year. Came out this year, and honestly, it's so good. It was just, I didn't know what to expect walking into this. Essentially, it's about a Korean group that this is set well into the future. We left Earth because Earth officially is overpolluted, and the only place that humanity can now survive is either on space stations or by terraforming other planets. And there are groups called sweepers that essentially fly around Earth, picking up all of these nasty debris that's out there and selling it for scrap. We follow a crew. I forget what the crew is called, but we follow a crew that is IMDb. We follow a crew. We follow the crew of Victory, who is pretty much down on their luck, as is with every kind of sci-fi movie like this. They're kind of down on their luck, and they're trying to figure out how to make the most money possible, living off all this salvage. And during their scavenging of the waste around Earth, they pick up this 7-year-old girl in this broken down spaceship. Turns out the 7-year-old girl is able to control nanotech. And this nanotech is kind of what is breaking down or controls life the around the space of Earth. And they're told, "Hey, Deej,
Hi.
but they're told that
So
it's good to see you
frustrated.
again.
So frustrated, guys.
So good to see you again." But they're told this 7-year-old girl is actually a robot that has some sort of nuclear device in her that, if detonated, would destroy a large swath of Earth, space stations, and like the moon in like one big go. So they're trying to sell this girl to this rebel, kind of like this rebel alliance, to get money. And the main guy, the pilot of Victory, wants to get all this money so he could find his daughter, who died during like this big explosion on this space station. So he could find the body of his daughter, which has been floating in outer space for almost like 2 years. So it's like very, very dramatic. It was so good, DJ. It's like Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star. What's another good one? What's that other one? With Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis and the blue alien that sings. Do you know what I'm talking about? Come on, help me out. Bruce Willis.
I realize I'm muted. I keep going. Fifth Element. Fifth Element. Becca. Fifth Element.
Yes, Fifth Element. It's like all of those three combine into like this gorgeous freaking movie. It was so good. Highly recommend this. I would give it a I'd give it a full wet.
Yes. Okay. I fixed it.
I'd give it a full wet.
As it's tilted.
That's fine. I'd give it a full wait. It was just so good. Like all the way up. There's like maybe a couple moments where you're just like, oh, come on, whatever. This is so dumb. But there was honestly some really great moments in there. And there's even like one where so the cool thing about it is, since it's set in the future, there's a moment there where like everybody is talking in different languages. The main group you're following is Korean, but they run into people that are speaking French and people that are speaking English, and they all have like these translators that they wear. So they give a reason for everybody to just be talking whatever the hell language that they're talking without needing to like explain why everybody can understand everybody. It was just so good. There was a movie, I'm not even going to try and remember the movie at this point, but there was a movie that was like released 2 or 3 years ago at this point that did the same thing. That was really good too. So I highly recommend this. It's on Netflix. It's really good. If you have a chance to check it out. I'm not going to waste it. Huh?
What's it called again?
Space Sweepers. So watch Space Sweepers on Netflix. I'm not even going to tell you how it ends. I'm not going to ruin it for you all, because this is one like kind of, if you give it away, it's kind of over. As much as I want to like break down the movie all the way down, or like all of its parts all the way down, I don't want to. I really want to leave this one out there for you to just kind of check it out, because it just gets so good. Okay, this one, full it.
Full it.
Full it.
So, yeah, I still have yet to see it because I could never remember what it was called. I have on my notes here, I Care a Lot, which I have watched. !Runner, because you kept insisting it was Runner. So
Face sweepers. Now you know, everybody. Okay, next one. So this one we both definitely watched. Justice League Snyder Cut.
Yes. You originally weren't going to watch it.
I wasn't going to watch it. It's 4 hours long. Okay, let me tell you why I watched it. Why I decided to watch it.
If you're talking, I can hear you. Nope. There you go. There you are. Hello.
Yes. I was scrolling. I was scrolling through Reddit and I saw the trailer, and that's why I decided to go watch it.
Okay. So last we had talked about it, you said you weren't going to watch it. And then I had texted you. I was like halfway through it. We had to take an intermission halfway through it as not like oh my God, this movie's just so long, as in I need a moment to process what I just saw. Because I had texted you. And again, we are a spoiler cast. So spoilers, Martian Manhunter was in it.
Right. Right. They really that.
Go ahead.
Did I text back?
You texted back.
No,
I'll watch it later.
I did. Well, so I'd already at that point made my decision that I was gonna watch it because, like I said, I scrolled through Reddit and then there was the fucking trailer, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna watch it. And then you said, oh, Martian Manhunter's in it. Was he in it the first time?
No, he was not.
Okay.
That's why I was so shocked.
Well, so I really wish they didn't put him in there this time either, because it was such a fucking throwaway.
To me, so this is what I want to say before we keep getting into this. Everyone who watches it, who's like a Marvel fan, keeps going and saying the exact same thing. It's no end game.
Oh, I didn't even... Look, I'm not comparing... DC is DC, Marvel is Marvel.
I know. Here's the thing that and what frustrates me about that is, one, yes, they're two separate things, but again, this isn't it's not fair to compare the two, not just because they're different properties, but also this is more like Avengers, the first Avengers. It is the first team up. So them throwing in Martian Manhunter like that with me and then going back with him towards the end, I was like, they're just setting up for more. They didn't want to introduce a new character, but we did want to see him because honestly, the Martha, her part in the original, I was just like, this. But having it be Manhunter, I liked better. So it was like, I liked it because it was just like hints of what could be, of who they wanted.
Okay. So first off, the movie's 4 hours long. Okay, it had always been told like the original Snyder Cut was super fucking long, and then it got cut down by Josh Whedon in some sort of ways, and then some things had been refilmed because of it.
Said that I want to say like after he had to come on that he said that it was unwatchable is what he was quoted as saying, which is why there were so many reshoots.
Right. I don't even remember the Josh Whedon version. I don't even remember at all. I remember being extremely disappointed. I know that much. I remember being extremely disappointed. Was the fight with the Amazons when the box woke him, was that in this Josh Whedon version?
Part of it was, but not all of what we saw.
Part of it was.
We saw a bit of it, and I just sent you an article by BuzzFeed with 34 changes between the two cuts. Part of it was, but in the original, the gravity of it wasn't the same. It was a very quick, not even 5 minutes, I think, scene. In the Snyder Cut, it's much longer, and you get to see the actual sacrifice that the Amazons did.
Yeah, look, let me tell you what. That whole thing with the Amazons, like that fight with the Amazons, was probably my favorite part in the entirety of this Snyder. That entire thing, they really put up a fight. The Amazons really fucking put up a fight. And when they said something about fear, and she's like, Amazon, show them your fear, and they're like, we fear nothing. That sent chills down my goddamn spine. I was like, all right, that was it. That's what I was looking for. That's what I absolutely wanted in this whole thing. That was almost, I hate to say that but that was like that was on par with like some of the things you saw in like the original, like in the Marvel verse, right? Where you saw all of those women in the Marvel verse like stand up and like, we're here to take charge.
Yeah.
And it was a moment where I was like, yes, this shows their strength. This shows everything you knew what the Amazonians were capable of, right? They weren't downplayed as something that was easily trampled on, you know? They didn't need to be rescued by anybody because they could rescue themselves. That was the thing that was so great to see. So I really loved that bit. So it's what I'm saying. And then like when we moved to the next part and everybody else was just kind of getting their asses handed to them, I was like, man, you guys ain't any kind of Amazonians, are you? like the what was it? The Aqua people? They really didn't stand. Like the Amazonians put up a goddamn fight. And the
Atlanteans just let it go.
Atlanteans just kind of got their asses they didn't let it go. They got their asses handed to them. Compared to like 9-day difference, they really got their asses handed to them.
Yeah, Mira put up a fight, but even like that was it. The rest just like was not.
Yeah. So backing up real quick. How did the boxes trigger? Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm looking at your little BuzzFeed changes.
It helps just to to go, oh yeah, that's how it went.
How did the boxes trigger the first time?
So the first time it was kind of similar, but also not. So the Unity looked different, which across the board, the entire movie had a different feel because of the color changes they made.
Right.
The color correction they did made it just so gorgeous, because in the theatrical cut, it was very Marvel stylized. In the Snyder Cut, it was his universe, and you could tell he wasn't trying to copy anyone. He wasn't trying to be like, oh, we're just as good at them. He was just like, here are the characters and this is the story. In the mother boxes in the original did come together like that, but Cyborg didn't go into them at all. Also, they didn't unify in the original. Flash didn't reverse time.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up on me. Sorry, you're breaking up.
I see that.
Back up a little, just a couple beats.
So in the original, the boxes didn't unify. Superman and Cyborg were able to keep them apart, literally by force, keep them apart. In the Snyder Cut, one, they unified, and Flash had to reverse time so that they didn't. Two, Cyborg in the original didn't go into the mother boxes and have that whole scene of where he accepted himself, like he did in the Snyder Cut. And when in the original, when Superman and Cyborg like kept them apart, that was kind of just it. They a lot more of like muscular, but as opposed to Cyborg having more.
Okay. There is one scene that I had a huge issue with. The scene where the girl gets into the car accident, Barry Allen like turns to go rescue her.
Yeah.
And then he does this weird thing with his hair and starts pushing it off to the side. Creepy! I was not okay with that. I was like,
Yeah.
No, sir. She was vulnerable. She is vulnerable. And you're going to stand there and just lightly brush her hair to the side because you're like, oh, I'm smitten with her beauty while she's in peril. I was not okay with that at all. Not okay.
The only really the parts that I liked about that one scene are when he does turn his shoes exploding.
Explode off his feet, yeah.
And it was the first time we really saw, and they kept that consistent throughout. He anytime he was using his super speed and he was interacting with things, he was very delicate with everything. So not just the hair sweep, which obviously, yes, creepy. But even when he's grabbing the hot dog out of the air, he does it very delicately.
Right. Like he was very delicate with her in general, making sure like putting her arms together, pulling her over, putting her down on the ground and everything. Right. All of that very gentle. Get it. 100%. But that hair sweep was like, nah, sir. Right. Yeah. And it just fed like Barry Allen in that. He felt very creepy and a lot like towards the end, like a lot of the creepiness slowly got out of him once he started getting into the Flash mantle. Right. Once he adopted the Flash mantle, he became better. But up until that point, he very much creeped me out in a lot of ways, and it started when he was moving the hair out of the way. Like I just could not. Like it felt almost like the Josh Whedon-ish characters where it's the nerdy dude who you are made to feel sorry for because they don't fit into like the typical mold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No.
And all of that super valid, and I totally agree on that. Like I said, the only things I love is how delicate, but it wasn't because like he was just like smitten with her, but he was also that way with other characters. And literally anytime he was in the Speed Force with how delicate he was, because if something comes up at you fast and goes like that, it hurts more than me going like that at normal speed. So
the amount of times he knocked himself out.
Yeah. So like seeing him be super delicate with not just her, but with everyone as he's in his Speed Force was really, really cool. And it was even just kind of really funny when Superman does the whole dodge his super speed in that one scene and he flies right into Aquaman.
Yeah. The amount of times like Barry Allen knocked himself out was pretty good. Yes. Yes. So there's one other thing. So going back to what you're saying, like how everybody was like, it's not Endgame. So a lot of the things kind of to remember about the reason why Josh Whedon was kind of brought in is because they wanted a tonal shift of the DC universe to be closer to the MCU. You kind of have to remember that. So when the first Justice League movie was coming out, they wanted this big shift. They wanted to compete with MCU in that new change, and that's why it was brighter, right? So when we see the Snyder Cut, the darker version of it, that was the original look of what it was going to be before Josh Whedon was brought in.
Yeah.
This Snyder version was what the DC universe originally was before DC wanted to start competing with MCU. That's how I've always felt it is.
Yeah.
So this was kind of
very true.
So this was just kind of DC returning to its roots for me, I guess. It's the best way of saying it.
Yeah. And that's all very true because it really was. Look, the Snyder Cut, like I know when the theatrical cut came out, everyone's like, oh, we're never going to get the Snyder Cut because he didn't get to film all of it. He did 2 scenes. He reshot 2 scenes. And then the rest of the budget that went into the Snyder Cut was in the graphics. That's it. So like, aside from maybe we would have gotten a little less cool looking CGI, what we saw was what Snyder always envisioned. Mm-hmm. And you see that same shift, and you see that same look in Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. These are all part of that Snyder universe that really works, apparently.
Yeah. So one other thing that I really liked was the changes that they did to Steppenwolf. That weird armor that they put on him. Loved it. Just loved it. It was it was kind of unnerving it was like a living armor on him. Right? Constantly moving. And that was really interesting to see. And I give it to the animators that had to just continuously make that. The other thing is his facial expressions were just on point. When he was begging, I don't know who he was. I don't know the name of the dude that the dude he kept, Desaad that he kept talking to. When he was just like, there was a moment where he was talking about Darkseid, and there was just like his lips kind of just quivered, and how much he just wanted to like talk and beg to Darkseid. And I was just like, oh, baby boy. Like you could just tell just in the way that they designed and was animating his face, how much he just wanted to be on Darkseid, like the right-hand man to Darkseid. And it was just so good.
He wanted to go home.
It was, yeah. I mean, Steppenwolf for me made the movie. I'm not even gonna lie, I was not invested in any of the Justice League. I was so invested in Steppenwolf, though. Everything about Steppenwolf was just so intriguing.
And that's because, they gave Steppenwolf a actual arc of character and story to have. In the theatrical, he was the big bad. That was it. He was the big bad. In the Snyder Cut, he's not the big bad. Darkseid is, and Darkseid's not even there. He's off on his world, and Steppenwolf is trying to be allowed to be returned home. So he has motivation of what he wants. He wants to go home and he has to prove himself. He has to find the anti-life formula that is, he realized is here on Earth, which was actually explained in the Snyder Cut and was mentioned in the theatrical, but then cut and never explained.
Mm-hmm. So overall, what would you give it?
Full wit.
You would give it a full wit?
I would.
I would give it 3/4. I would give it 3/4. And the reason why is because the movie is about the Justice League. And it was outshone by its antagonists. And for something that needed to have the Justice League, it was remarkably underinvested in its heroes. And that's kind of sad. Right? That's why it doesn't get its full wit from me. Yeah.
Fair enough. I enjoyed it so much. It was just...
It's a good action movie. I'll give it that.
It is what the DC universe deserved in its first film, like with all of their characters. And it kind of brings hope that maybe one day we will get the rest of it. I doubt it, which is sad, because...
Well, no, because Ben Affleck can't return as Batman. They've already removed him as Batman.
Well, with everything that happened with this, I don't know. I haven't seen anything of him saying no, he just won't come back, or they won't get in negotiations.
So Robert Pattinson is already the new Batman. Mm-hmm.
As a younger Batman. That's a younger Batman.
Mm. Can we stop rebooting Batman, please? We make a joke like Spider-Man's been rebooted the most. No, Batman has been rebooted the most. And we're not just saying like he's been rebooted so many different ways, both in animation, in live action. Like, come on, peeps. And even like from TV to movie, like all the different ways he can be fucking rebooted, he has been rebooted. like there is no superhero that has been more rebooted than Batman. None.
Yeah.
None. And you can be like, well, what about that? No! None. In comic books, he has been rebooted so many times. Come on. Anyways. Yeah. What were we saying? I don't think if we ever saw a Justice League movie, it is going to retcon the Justice League movie we just saw. Like, it was nice to see this. This is the movie that could have been. That's all that I see this as. We're gonna see a completely new thing. Yeah. That's it. The only thing that I think that's surviving out of this whole what we know is Wonder Woman. And that's it. And even then, I think the Wonder Woman that we have right now isn't going to stay as the Wonder Woman we know in the future.
No, aren't they still doing the Flash movie?
I have no idea.
No, I think they're still doing the Flash movie. I think so. As far as the news I know of, before the Snyder Cut came out, they decided not to do the DCEU, which is what it was going to be called, is DCEU, is the DC Extended Universe, which was going to be Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Flash movie. Cyborg and Flash were supposed to get their own movies. Then they were still going through with all of that, as well as all the Suicide Squad movies, and Harley Quinn. Those were all part of the DCEU. After the failure of the theatrical cut of Justice League, they decided, no, we're not going to do an extended universe. These are just going to be standalone movies. That occasionally might pair up, but like that's not our intention.
You see, so there's no point in worrying about it. So,
But with the Snyder Cut and the success of Snyder Cut, maybe we'll get to see them decide of, yeah, let's go for it. It might end up getting rebooted and with whole new actors, which I'd be sad about because I think they did some really great casting. But I hope that we could at least see the extent of what Snyder wanted on his next few films.
I don't know. It's going to take a lot more. The only reason why it was so successful is because there were people that were already hungering for that. That's it.
And the stone people will still be hungering for more.
I don't know. All right, so next thing. We need to get on to our next ones. WandaVision. What?
I liked it so much. I was just, and it's not through any fault of their own. We had this whole pepperoni thing last year of the plans for it had changed at the end.
Pepper what?
Panorama.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The joke is you just use any P word.
Okay.
I didn't like the last episode as much as I may have. But overall, I really enjoyed WandaVision.
Yeah. So WandaVision was supposed to be leading up into the new
Doctor Strange.
Right, but that's been put on hold because of world events. But so talking about it, I think WandaVision is just a great film study, or just like a great study on like the evolution of television in sitcoms. Right? So as you learn, again, we're spoiler cast, as you learn the original WandaVision herself, from childhood up until like where we meet her in eventual MCU, is a lover of sitcoms. In childhood, she loved watching like Vic Van Dyke shows, loved watching those little things. Then as she grew older, she kept watching sitcoms eventually into like what we knew at like the early 2000s sitcoms, right? And so when she creates this essentially alternate reality around this place called Westview, it's in the version of the sitcoms that she used to watch as a child. And she creates all of these complex storylines around these ideas of the sitcoms she used to watch. And the actors that also she creates are her husband, Vision, and she eventually ends up creating 2 children that are her boys, right? And so you watch her, and the other part that is just so great to watch is her coming to terms with grief over the death of her husband, because all of these shows take place, all of the MCU shows now that we're watching, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, all take place after the blimp. Which the first movie that took place after the blimp was what, Spider-Man Homecoming?
Yes.
Right. All of these take place after the blimp, so after the snap of Thanos and the ending of Endgame. So this is the first one that took place after that. So this is her. She comes back. She didn't know where Vision's body is. She learns where Vision's body is, and now we're here. The reveal of Vision, that was gorgeous.
Yeah.
That was just so good. Like the entire time, like one of the big mysteries is, what is Vision? That whole thing.
Well, we're led to believe that it's his body that she stole.
Right. Right. Right.
Hayward, and they did a pretty good job of like keeping that of like what Hayward's actual plan was under wraps.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you really did think that Wanda took her body, took his Vision's body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really led us down that little rabbit hole, definitely for sure.
Until Agatha, which
Because her whole thing, yeah.
her bop, that was a bop,
Right? The reveal of Agatha was also just freaking gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. Like, that was a great villain.
And what's funny is she was, and I know people were kind of complaining that she wasn't like this big bad, or there wasn't Mephisto. But the showrunners even kind of talked about it of the big bad in this was Wanda's grief.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very true. It's one of the reasons why, what's her name?
Monica,
thank you. Was like, no, this is how I felt, and she's the answer to this entire problem. Because, yeah, we wanted that big fight scene at the end, but it was more about Wanda coming to terms with everything. That was the big bad. Agatha was just there because you need a little extra pizzazz, right. And she gave it.
Right. Agatha saw all this, like, felt all this magic, right? Yeah. She says it. She's like, there's all this magic here all this complicated magic that's weaved together in this intricate pattern that she had never seen before. And she wanted to figure out, she wanted to unravel the mystery of how this all came together. And that's what brought her there. Yeah. Right. That's how I took why she ended up there.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what it is. And it was when she realized Wanda wasn't in control of it, was when she decided that Wanda can't have her magic.
Right.
Because it kind of felt at the beginning of when she revealed who she was, that she was going to help Wanda learn and then at that switch of, you don't know how you did this. Oh, this was an accident. Mm-hmm. You can't have this kind of power then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I know in the comics, Agatha is not a villain. She's a caretaker. Mm. She does villainous kind of things because she kills people. She kills animals. There's a whole story on that. But I don't think she was ever like a villain character. So to have her see that switch of, I'm taking your powers was really funny.
Yeah, she's like, I take powers from the undeserving. That's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah. And it played out, and kind of that's what she was doing. She wasn't trying to like be the big villain and take Wanda's powers for her own to do her own evil thing. She's like, you don't deserve this kind of power if you can't handle it.
Right. The one thing I probably did not like about WandaVision was Hawthorne. I felt that they turned him kind of into a caricature of a villain kind of midway through it. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, so they start off with him kind of being buddy-buddy with, like, Monica. Oh, I was there for your mom, and now I'm the head of her unit. And then all of a sudden, like, his tone just changed. She's a monster, or Wanda's a monster, and we've got to do away with her, and now you're against me, and I've got to throw you out, and everybody else who's against me is all bad, and I've got to destroy this guy, and it's all about the machine that I want, the ultimate weapon that I want to build and create and bring back online, right? And I was just kind of like, man, I really didn't want him to just suddenly just be this really bad guy,
Yeah. And that's, yeah, they really did do that. No, I was gonna say, like, we didn't get to see where he was, like, obviously Monica's mom had some kind of trust in him at the beginning, and then, 5 years changes a lot of people, especially
Yeah,
when
he
half the
wasn't like a
population goes away. But
yeah, there wasn't like a great explanation as to like what switched him. Uh,
yeah,
there wasn't what made him change so drastically, from especially when they reveal when him and uh, Wanda talk, right? And he very clearly says some things to like trigger her to try and get her to bring Vision back,
yeah,
right? He's like, well, not everybody has this power you have to bring their partner back. She's like, I don't have that power. It's like, and he's antagonizing her. He
yeah.
wants her to do it.
Which kind of came out of no, like, why would you think she had that power?
Yeah, where did that come from? Like, what do you know about Wanda that made you think that she could do that? Right? Like, why did you say those things?
Yeah,
It made no sense. Like, he suddenly had that. Like, nobody else thought she had those abilities but you.
yeah,
So why was he the one to have said that? So it was very weird for him to have those lines. So I had it was just like the showrunners didn't know what to do. So they were just like, well, we gotta have some other kind of antagonist here. Hawthorne's a great idea. Let's throw him in it. So that was where it went. So
yeah.
all right, so let's see. The entire WandaVision series, what would you give it? I would give it a good full wit. I really liked it. Despite some of its issues, I would give it a full wit because they did their very best with what they had,
Yeah.
despite having to make the changes that they had to
Yeah.
make, you know?
On that, yeah, I would. I still give it a 3/4. I would have liked it to be more of a character driven than that fight at the end.
I think the reason why that fight had to be done the way that it did is you have to we didn't have a movie, right? And that movies are able to kind of give in our pace in a certain way that allows characters to have their time. So the way that this had to be done is they really had to have that fight between visions, the visions, and then they had to,
Like, I don't mind the Vision fight. I didn't like the Agatha fight. The Vision fight was good. There was that character development of, hey, am I really Vision? Are you really Vision? Or is there any Vision left? It was the Agatha fight that I'm just like, yeah, it was fun to watch. And it definitely shows that Wanda picks up real quick on magic. But knowing that, like, the entire thing was based on her grief, I would have liked. I love action. I would have liked more of a character-driven plot on that than the action-driven plot that it had.
okay. Okay.
So I give it a 3/4 because you had 9 episodes to do this in, and
You're taking too long there. You gotta shrink it.
I feel like they decided to go for that action over more character development.
Mm. Okay, so the first episode of
The shoulder.
well, yeah. How did you feel?
Instantly hated the guy at the end.
Which guy?
Captain America. The new
Oh,
Captain
weird,
America.
wasn't he?
Huh?
I feel bad to say this, but he was kind of weird looking.
Yeah. Granted, I was looking back at pictures of Chris Evans as Captain America. With when you put that strap on, it really just take away your jawline. And so apparently I seen a picture of the guy, the new Captain America without all of that, and he's got a pretty defined jaw, but like with that, you have to have a super defined jaw to be able to pull off that chin strap.
I don't know what the new Captain America looks like.
I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, I'll do that in a sec. But no, I enjoyed it, and there was one part that I really, 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 really liked. When Bucky wakes up from his nightmare and he's sleeping on the floor.
A lot of people like that because it's like a continuation on
the Falcon and Cap talk when they first met. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's your bed, right? It's too soft. Yeah. Yeah. I think also it's a great just showing. There's a couple of reasons why that bit is so like this show. What am I trying to say? There's other thing that I like so much about it is that one, it really just shows what veterans in the U.S. at least really do go through when it comes to like living in a civilian life, you know. Like we grew up in the military, and we definitely saw like our dad struggle with some things when it came to like transitioning from military to civilian life. It wasn't necessarily easy for him either.
Yeah.
Right. Although I would think it was a little easier for him because he had a family. But we, like, when we went from military to civilian life, we lived with our grandparents for like, what, 6 months?
Yeah.
Right. And it took a while for him to find a job. You don't come out of the military immediately having a job. Like, the military doesn't help you find civilian work. You have to find civilian work.
Yeah.
So seeing Sam like struggle to get a business loan for his family business, like that, very real.
Yeah. You know, thanks for saving the universe, but this is business.
Right. It's like we've seen that. We've seen our own family struggle in that exact same way. Like, there's nothing there. There are programs out there that say, hey, we're here to help veterans, but at the same time, there are also pretty bad programs that aren't necessarily great to help out. The other thing that was pretty wild is that, you know, that bank scene that's like, yeah, you haven't had any income for 5 years. Like, yeah, he's been a blimp. He was gone. He was dust for 5 years. What the hell was he supposed to do? Right? And like the bank's like, yeah, well, that's tough luck. Try another. Like that's kind of fucked up. Right? And so when you're looking at Sam's storyline, it's very much, yeah, veterans really do struggle with those, with that as well. Like, they struggle to get a loan. They struggle to find meaningful employment, right? Yeah. Like, once they get out of the military, there's not much support that exists, and what support that does exist isn't necessarily great. If you look at and talking about therapists, like, we could move over to Bucky. You talk about therapists. Yes.
I really liked his therapist.
Yeah.
She was a bitch, and that's what he needed.
So talking about therapists, there are good therapists and there are bad therapists, right? And so like his therapist is something that kind of is on the border of it, right? In some cases, therapists therapists respond to you, right? And if you're like you said, he needs a therapist that takes no nonsense, because Bucky clearly won't give you if you're too nice to Bucky, he's just not going to respond to you. So he needs a bitch of a therapist that's going to like drill into it, right? But at the same time, there are also therapists that just sometimes don't care, right? And so it's like, what is she to this? Does she not care, or does she care too much, right? Is this the right therapist for him, or is it not, right? I've had a friend who went out there to go get a therapist, and the therapist just didn't understand the struggle that she was going through, yet tried to say that she did, right? So like, it's up in the air. You don't know until you get it, right? So the other thing that I really liked about Bucky is that he's going through and doing those that amendment thing. I'm here to make amends. And it's just like he's doing it in his own little Bucky way. It's just like so brutal in his way. It's like, yeah, I didn't hurt anybody. And it's just like every time, like as he's explaining through it, they're like they're cutting back and forth between him doing, between
Making
him
a
and the
toe.
senator, right? With who it is. Right? So yeah. Also the thing with him and the little Japanese man, the little Japanese.
Oh my God, heartbreaking.
Oh, that was just, oh, that was just, and while he's trying, the little Japanese man gets him that date, and then the girl just starts talking, and you're just like, shut up. Shut up, stop talking, lady. Stop talking. She just keeps going, and he walks out on the date, and I'm like, this is why you can't have nice things.
I didn't realize it until I saw a TikTok on it, but he was placing, when they're playing Battleship on the date, and he's placing his ships according to what she says, so he can get the game over quicker.
Wow, I didn't even notice.
I didn't notice until there was a TikTok about it.
I was paying close attention to their conversation, right? I tend to live listening to dialogue. That's my favorite thing to do. I love listening to dialogue and the way that dialogue unfolds and tells story. And the way that it changes the characters and how they respond to it, right? And so at the beginning, when you're watching, he's kind of laid back and he's enjoying himself, and he's got like this little, funny smile on his face. Yeah, he's got the smirk on, and he's kind of like in his element, joking with her, right? And then she starts talking, and you see that slow transformation, and he goes from being laid back, drinking his beer, to kind of start hunching over, right? And he's moving from this laid back posture into this kind of defensive posture. And it leaves you, that's when you realize he's no longer comfortable. He's moving into a defensive thing. He doesn't want to hear this anymore. He doesn't like what he's hearing. He knows he's responsible. And so he starts curling further in. And finally he can't take it anymore, and he runs, right? And so when you watch and listen to that, and you watch him curl in on himself and that take off and run away, that's what I loved so much to watch. The way that dialogue just pulled him into this defensive shell was so beautiful. So that's why I didn't notice that thing. I noticed the other part. So if you get a chance, watch the body language. I'm sorry, I got too excited on that.
But yeah, so there's a lot, and I'm looking forward to the next episode in a few days. Mm-hmm. And we'll leave it off on that, but there is just, let me go ahead and, so this is, can you see my screen?
Yes.
So this is the new Captain America, right?
Uh-huh.
This is what he normally looks like.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, still kind of goofy looking. He looks better with a beard, but he does have more of a jaw than this picture allows you to
He looks
kind of
kind of
see.
like a, what does he look like? Like kind of like a golem.
Oh, and it's so bad. Neil said he looked like the old guy from Up.
Yes! Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Oh, yeah. So that is where we'll leave you guys. Next week is the next part of A Way Out.
Oh, yeah.
And I sent you a TikTok about a new game by the same creators that maybe we might be able to play after.
Yeah. We'll definitely play it. I think that would be super fun. And you guys know what to do. If there's anything you guys want to talk about the Snyder Cut for Justice League, let us know. If you've watched Space Sweepers, let us know. Tell us what you like about them. And tell us more about what you liked. If there's any little things you noticed in the shows, if there's any little things you thought were interesting, tell us. We'd be happy to talk about them down in the comment section below. And you know what to do.
Like, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon so you're notified of all of our uploads. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I found out why I was doing the why my camera wasn't working. I kept hitting record instead of power.
You dummy.
So it kept turning on and just recording, which is not how it needs to be. The power button's on the side, the record's on top. So.
It's not how it's supposed to work.
Anyway.